The first drops of rain hit the window pane like a spatter of angry tears, a prelude to the tempest gathering inside the house. Outside, the sky churned, a bruised purple-black that swallowed the last vestiges of daylight. But for Jasmine and Henry, the real storm was already raging in the kitchen, a maelstrom of fear, ambition, and a love so fractured it felt like hate. They were twins, bound by the unyielding tie of shared beginnings, but their paths had diverged years ago. Jasmine saw a way out, a life where her intellect could be a tool for creation, not just a weapon for survival. She held a ticket to freedom, a stack of acceptance letters that felt as precious and fragile as a butterfly's wing. Henry, however, saw her aspirations not as a triumph, but as a betrayal. To him, her future was an act of abandonment, a selfish escape from the grimy, dangerous world they had built together. He was the protector, the provider, and her dream threatened to dismantle the only family he knew how to be a part of. The air was thick and heavy, smelling of impending ozone and the unspoken resentments of a lifetime lived on the margins. Their final battle had just begun. "Because I can't do it anymore, Henry. The robbing, the running from the police, the gunshots, I can't deal with that anymore." Jasmine's voice cracked, raw with a desperation that had been building for months. She stood in the center of the kitchen, her hands balled into fists at her sides, and her eyes, usually so full of light, were now dark and defiant. Henry, her twin brother, leaned against the worn Formica countertop, a smirk playing on his lips. "Why? Because of the very small chance that you might make it into a good college? Do you even know if Mom and Dad can afford that?" "It doesn't matter. I told you I got full rides from everywhere I applied to." Jasmine's voice rose with each word, the frustration evident. "All I have to do is accept one of them and I'm out of here for good." Henry scoffed, pushing off the counter and taking a step closer. "Full ride doesn't mean free, Jasmine. It just means mostly free. We still have to buy things for your dorm, your food, possibly a plane ticket." "Why the fuck do you care? You're not paying for any of that," she shot back, her voice a low hiss. "Mom and Dad will, and you know they barely have the money to feed us." Henry's words were laced with a bitterness that stung. "Whether you get accepted or not, there's no way they'll let you go." A sudden clap of thunder echoed through the kitchen, a punctuation mark on their argument. 3 bolts of lightning split the sky outside, momentarily illuminating the large window above the sink and casting their shadows in stark relief against the walls. The air crackled with the storm's energy, mirroring the tension between them.
"I know they'll try," Jasmine said, her voice softer now but still firm, "because they love me and care about me, and they want me to have a future outside of this bum-ass city. Why can't you do the same?" Henry's smirk vanished, replaced by a cold, hard stare. "I am doing the same," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "by telling you to cut the bullshit now and get rid of your letters before you get disappointed. Plus, how can I be happy for you when you're taking away the only thing that makes this family money over something that won't make any difference?" Jasmine's face twisted in disbelief. "And why won't me getting to college make a difference?" she hissed. Henry laughed, a short, sharp sound devoid of humor. "Come on, Jasmine, don't play with me. We both know you wouldn't pass a single class up there." He shook his head slowly, as if pitying her naivete. "I mean, come on now." Jasmine crossed her arms, her dark eyes burning with a fury that felt hot enough to melt steel. She stared at him, her silence more potent than any shouted insult. Henry, unfazed, continued his verbal assault. "Plus, even if you could, you would hate college. Everyone there is so entitled and got in because their rich, white parents pay so much for them that they don't have to work a day in their lives. The food is gross, and everything there costs more than what we steal in a year." "I don't care," Jasmine screamed, the sound of her voice competing with the intensifying rain against the window. "I'd much rather be there than with a brother who hides my admission letters behind my back and wants me to be with him all the time like we're still 5 years old." "Fuck you, Jasmine. I was looking out for you," Henry said, his face a mask of wounded pride. He turned to walk away, the argument officially over in his mind. "No, fuck you!" she spat at his retreating back. "I don't need you to look out for me. Not before, not now, not ever again." He stormed out of the living room and out the front door, the screen door slamming shut with a resounding thud. The rain was coming down in sheets, and he pulled his black hoodie over his not-too-tall high top, the one he had just gotten a few weeks prior. The fabric felt flimsy against the cold downpour, but he didn't care. He needed to do something, anything to distract himself from her words, from the feeling of betrayal that gnawed at him. He didn't need her. He didn't need anyone to help him do what he needed to get done. He looked up at the dark, rainy sky and at the neighborhood that the lightning fell over. It was a place of 2- or 3-story houses with a few still under construction in the distance. The perfect candidate.
He took out his phone and searched for the bus schedule to Cedar Ridge, a place he and Jasmine had scouted out weeks ago. When he got off the bus next to a convenience store, a rounded granite slab greeted him, a sign for the rich cluster of blue and white colonial houses. Cedar Ridge, it read. Perfect, he thought. He flipped his black hoodie over his head and walked past the houses, hands in his pockets, his mostly empty backpack a deceptive proc. He ignored any house with more than one car in the driveway, focusing on the details of the others: a ramp at the doorstep, toys in the front lawn, unruly grass, anything that could indicate a single vulnerable occupant. After what felt like an eternity of walking, he found a small green park. He sat on a bench and took out a notebook and a pen, his photographic memory recalling every house number he had passed that fit their criteria. He crossed out several more as he mentally double-checked for security system signs, a crucial step he and Jasmine had always taken together. Finally, he was left with one candidate, house number 257, the one with the lone white Toyota in the driveway. He pulled his backpack onto his lap and unzipped it, his fingers brushing against the cold steel of his tools. He checked the time on his watch, 10:30 p.m. Still too early. He would have to come back. At 4 a.m., when the convenience store had closed for the night, it was go time. The rain had subsided, leaving the air heavy and damp. He went down the alleyway behind house 257 and climbed the brick wall into the backyard. It was a strangely beautiful sight. Unruly grass that came up to his hip and not a single light on. The house was pitch black, a silent, empty sentinel in the dark. "Good thing I brought my flashlight," he muttered to himself. He took out the small black light and pointed it at the lock on the white back door. From his backpack, he retrieved the long silver tension wrench, a tool he had stolen from his father, who worked as a locksmith. It was the key to his success, a small piece of his father's honest work twisted into a tool for their illicit trade. The lock opened like a charm, the familiar click a welcome sound in the oppressive silence. He slipped inside, the house an abyss of blackness and silence. He turned on his flashlight, its beam a single, fragile thread of light against the oppressive darkness. He guided his steps with the light, moving slowly and deliberately until he found himself in the dining room. A large cabinet caught his attention, and when he shone the light on it, he saw the glint of fine china behind glass doors. "Bingo," he whispered. He slowly opened one of the double doors, his backpack already on his chest, and reached for a plate. A sudden movement, a fast-moving shadow caught his attention. He felt a cool breeze on his neck and whipped his head around, his flashlight sweeping the room. Nothing.
"Must have been a bug," he mumbled, turning back to the cabinet. He found a set of golden forks and spoons and a vintage painted egg that felt hollow, like glass, another piece of fine china. Just then, he felt it again. Not a sudden gust of wind this time, but a distinct presence, a feeling of being watched. He shone his flashlight into the living room behind him, but the darkness swallowed the light, revealing nothing. A shiver ran down his spine, a primal sense of danger that he had never felt on a job before. "I should probably hurry up," he thought to himself. He put the backpack on and moved into the living room, the darkness so thick it felt like a physical presence. The room was simple,
A couch, a TV, a coffee table. The only thing that stood out was a large wooden jewelry box on a side table, a framed photo of a smiling man and a little girl above it. Henry saw his target and began to move toward it, his eyes straining in the dark. He tripped, and for a terrifying moment, he was in free fall. But he didn't land on the hardwood floor. Instead, the floor where he fell collapsed into a huge, dark hole before he could stop himself. He landed with a sickening thud, his head hitting something hard. The world went black. When he woke, he was tied to a chair. His arms were bound tightly in front of his chest, and no matter how much he struggled, he couldn't move. The room was still pitch black, but he could make out the sharp, splintered edges of the hole in the floor. A low, hoarse voice broke the silence. "I can't believe I caught you. I'm so hungry." A figure slowly crept into the living room, its movements disjointed and dragging. By the squareness of its shoulders, Henry could tell it was a man. As he drew closer, one hand was spread out at his side as if to catch himself. "Please, don't hurt me," Henry begged, his voice trembling. "I'm really sorry for breaking in. My family can't afford to eat. I can give you all of your stuff back." The figure stopped, its eyes now glowing a fiery red in the dark. "I would say sorry, but you asked for this." The man crept closer and closer until he was just inches away from Henry, who whimpered, his eyes filling with tears. The man bent down, his eyes, completely black except for the blaring red pupils, bore into Henry's. Faster than light, he grabbed Henry's neck, his long, sharp nails digging into his skin. Blood slowly seeped out. Then he bit Henry's neck, sinking 2 sharp points into his flesh. The pain was unlike anything he had ever felt, but something strange happened. A profound sense of calm washed over him. He felt himself go limp, his mind becoming hazy and distant. The world became a blur of black and red, and then a pitch-black darkness that was deeper and more absolute than any he had ever known. The next time anyone saw Henry Bolt was a few days later, back at his own house. He was starving, thirsty, and exhausted, his black hoodie stained and reeking of garbage, his pants of sewage. But none of that mattered. He only cared about one thing: finding Jasmine, his twin sister. He wanted to tell his family he was back, but especially Jasmine, the one person he never should have driven away. He looked into the large kitchen window, the same one where they'd had their last fight. All the lights were on, and he could hear the faint sound of laughter. He knocked on the screen door. The laughter stopped, and no one answered. He knocked again, shouting, "It's me, Henry, open up." Still, no one answered. "Please, it's me. Mama, let me in." Silence. He looked through the peephole, but the living room and hallway were empty. After calling for his mother several more times, he finally gave up, a profound emptiness gnawing at him. He turned and walked toward the city, and in the following days he tried a few more times to get his family back. The last time he came to the house, his mother let him in, only to be met with a new kind of horror. She screamed and threatened to call the police, claiming he wasn't her real son, but a bloodthirsty creature of the night. Her words sent a shiver down his spine. She had concluded this after he failed to show up in a mirror's reflection. Henry ran, fast and far, until his lungs ached and he thought he would collapse. He was no longer the boy who lived in that house, nor the one who stole from the rich. He was something else, something monstrous. That was the last time Jasmine saw Henry. At least, the last time she saw the version of him she knew. She wasn't at the house when he returned. Instead, she was on a campus tour, walking through a well-lit quad, the full-ride scholarship having been very, very real. A few weeks later, she would accept her offer, leave the city, and begin her new life. A life that included a quiet, calculating revenge. The plan had been born the night of their argument, a chilling idea that had taken root as she watched Henry storm out into the storm. She'd found the email for the Dean of Admissions on the university's website and had sent a message, not as a cry for help, but as a carefully constructed threat. The email lay in the dean's inbox, a ticking bomb Jasmine had set a week ago.
From Jasmine's email. To Dean of Admissions. Subject: an opportunity for the university. I've been given some information about an active thief who has been a menace to your neighborhood. He has been taking valuable items for years. If you would like to know who this person is, please contact me. If not, I will be attending your university in the fall. The Dean of Admissions had seen her file. Stellar grades, impressive extracurriculars, and a compelling personal essay. He had also received a tip from an anonymous email address that led him to Henry's criminal record. Jasmine's email was all the confirmation he needed. The full scholarship she had earned was not just a reward for her hard work, it was the price of her silence, a hush money arrangement to keep the university's reputation pristine. As Henry staggered away from his empty home, a lost soul in a body that was no longer his own, Jasmine was already a ghost to him, a fading memory of the sister he once knew. But in truth, she was far more present than he could ever imagine. She was the architect of his downfall, the final shot fired in their war. She had traded his freedom for hers, his existence for her escape, and she would walk onto that campus in the fall, not with a sense of triumph, but with a cold, clear resolve. She had gotten what she wanted, and the silence from the dean's office was proof that she was getting away with it.